time is 7:38 p.m. Central Time. We just got through the Iowa elections. Things are going, fast in terms of the, financial system collapse and all kinds of things that are happening all at one time. And I know there's many things to distract you. But tonight I want to actually focus you on some kind of important news that's developing in the world of watching incoming planetary bodies. And it's getting, quite serious. Let me start with, first of all, hello, I'm Steve. It's good to meet you. I'm going to be here to pray with people tonight and to talk to people for a little while tonight, because I think things are getting pretty serious. And if you're checking out any of the webcams or any of the things that I've been looking at lately, you will see that that we're seeing, obvious planetary bodies close to the Earth. We're seeing now corroborating pictures from our All Skycam network and ISS photography, as I'm going to show you in a minute. And these objects are getting pretty close, and we're apparently going into their, kind of heading into them. And basically that's why I wanted to get online tonight and talk to folks that want to kind of check out and get online with me tonight and talk about what's going on. Second thing I wanted to kind of walk you through is these are just, again, this is part of my network that's been building pretty quickly over the last couple of weeks, with the subscriber base now over 3,000 users, our subscribers. I wanted to also take an opportunity to thank everybody that has been supporting this channel. I want you to know that my intentions are very, very honest towards this audience. My objective is to show you what's coming in, so that when things are being reported and when things come out in the media, you do not have to be subject to any kind of lies. You can actually know what's happening and make decisions for yourself. And I am a Christian, and part of why I'm doing this is I'm compelled to warn people about what's happening. And when I say compelled, I mean compelled by the Holy Spirit of God. I'm not going to make any bones about that. So anybody wants to talk about that tonight, I'm certainly open to your thoughts as well. So talking about the collaboration, so what I wanted to look at for a moment in terms of the corroboration tonight is, first I want you to notice this triangular set of objects. Don't pay attention to this. This is a piece of fuzz in the screen on the ISS. I've been watching this ISS camera for the last 6 months. And first of all, I've never seen objects like this appear on the horizon. Usually they're obfuscated. If there are any seeming objects, they're obfuscated quickly. And for some reason, we were able to get these clear photographs, which then we were able to enhance slightly just to see what we had there. And I want you to notice the configuration of the triangular objects and the different objects that we see. And again, ignore this snake, the space snake we call it, and kind of go back to these all Skycam images that we just got almost at the same time, where we see again the two balls next to it, okay, on the horizon, and this is out of the Cumberland Head Observatory in Plattsburgh. And again, you can go to the All Sky network yourself if you'd like to check it out. And then we also got a close-up from there of this triangle, right? Now I could be looking at stars, that's true, but look at this for a second. It looks strangely familiar to the same pattern that we see here, shown in the almost again less than an hour ago ISS imagery that we just collected from my subscriber base. So and then over here, just again looking at the another Skycam image, and this is the images that we're getting from Craigie, Australia, from All Skycam. And again, things are starting to become much clearer to us as to what's going on. So again, I'm here to talk to the audience and talk a little bit about what's going on. I wanted to provide this kind of breaking information and pray with you, quite frankly. And I want to talk about what does this mean to us spiritually, what's going on right now. What are some of the things that you've been doing to prepare? And any questions that you might have. Oh, hey, there's my friend WTF Sky. It's good to see you. Kara Nova, it's good to see you. And Joe Alden, good to see you as well. And Kenji, it's good to see you too. Kenji, you have a glowing UFO hovering over your house. Let me tell you a story about glowing UFOs. So, I'm going to tell you a story. At risk of sounding really crazy, man. If you don't already think I'm crazy, you're gonna if you hang out with me for a little while. But anyway, I was outside of my house, and just to make this a complete story, I have never seen a UFO in my life, and I've always been totally fascinated with the subject. Okay, back to the days of when Leonard Nimoy was doing In Search of. I used to watch, marathon watch In Search of shows when they'd be on Saturdays, and I used to be into the whole ancient alien theory. I can talk about Chariots of the Gods until I fall asleep, and make you fall asleep. So I had all this history, and I used to always go outside and beg to see UFOs. I want to see a UFO. I want to see a UFO. I want to see an alien. Right? Never got to see one. My whole life. Okay. Until about 2 weeks ago, and I started to notice objects hovering around my house. I'm pretty sure it's as a result of this channel. It's got to almost be. And they're the kind that you might see Michael Weiss, Radiohead, on YouTube, I think is his handle. You go check out some of his stuff, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And it was a UFO on the horizon of my house. It's been kind of just floating around out there. And so I finally realized that this is a spiritual battle, in the sense of even the technology that's coming at us and the AI that's coming at us and all the things that we see. I think that it's still spiritual, very spiritual, profoundly spiritual, in fact. And so I went back to my old demonology training back when I was a Pentecostal preacher, believe it or not. And I specialized in demonology studies, and I just said, I looked right at the object that was floating behind the trees of my property. Again, this was a couple days ago, and it had been floating around for several weeks, 2 weeks. And I looked right at it, and I stared at it, and I let the Spirit of God build up in my heart. And I looked at it, and I said, "You have no right to be here. This is the property of God. I am the property of God." And I basically rebuked it. And it started to glow intensely orange in the sky. And then it just moved off. And I haven't seen it since. I don't think it's a coincidence. I'm talking about a spiritual battle, folks. If you're on this chat line tonight, you're going to get spiritual talk. But I also want to point out to you, if you look right there, this is off the recent Web Skycam de Mexico. This image here in the corner, this is the recent image that we got from ISS just not more than an hour ago, where we can see this triangular set of objects and corroborating objects again, as I'll show you, with the other ISS shots and an all Skycam image that we just picked up from Cumberland Head Observatory, where we can see the larger object and the two balls, and then the triangle object. Again, corroborating together, and it's very interesting and it's very intense. So let's see if we can take a look at some of the questions that we have tonight, and see if we've got anybody that wants to pray or ask any kind of questions about what's going on. And I just have to get back to my chat screen here just a second. There we go. All right, let's see what kind of questions that we have here tonight. Kira Nova, thank you for the question. You read an article today about scientists in Spain who discovered 2 new large potential planets outside of Pluto. This article related to the blue and the red Chechnya of Hopi prophecy, and that's potentially true. I've been noticing that there's been a slow leak of information, and I've acknowledged that in past videos. In fact, we talked about the New York Times and other. In fact, I was listening to my normal morning routine of Stephen Colbert, who I love, and what I do is I just like to watch the YouTubes on in the morning time when I get up, and so I just had them kind of looping, and there's Neil deGrasse on Stephen Colbert, and what were they talking about? They were talking about the 9th Planet article that had come out, and again, this is the slow release of information that's happening. But then we look at the ISS footage, or we look at footage that we get from other sources from around the world. Literally, I have thousands of images. I'm going to be doing a live show tomorrow night with my friend Jeff P., who's also going to share some shocking images that he's been collecting as part of his YouTube channel. And I had to hold back some of that stuff. I was saving up so I could do a presentation tomorrow, a good one for you all, right? But here we go. I mean, these ISS images came in and they corroborated immediately with the all-sky cam imagery. And I felt like it was a good time to talk, because I don't know if we have tomorrow anymore, guys. I really don't. I don't know if we have another day of internet. I don't know if we're going to have another day of ATM machines. It's a pretty serious situation right now, and I think people need to think about it first spiritually. And if we want to talk about prepping, fine, we can talk about prepping. I think the most important thing you can do, though, is to build a community of people that you can bind together with. Make sure you have water and start to have food, but the main thing is going to be community and those kinds of things. We can talk about that too, but right now we've got an incoming object right now, and it's getting pretty intense. So. Thanks for the updates. Yeah, thank you. I really do appreciate all your support. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It is the old battles of good and evil. Did anybody hear about the reports coming out of Croatia? It seems that, and we'll talk about this in depth in tomorrow night's video together. But in Croatia, we're seeing the red skies that we saw in some other parts of the world that was mentioned in the red sky video that I made yesterday. And I'm getting reports now from Croatians that are actually taking photographs, which we will have for you tomorrow night to look at. I'm just looking at them. I want to make sure they're real and make sure that they haven't been manipulated in a way that is fake. But there was also a news story out of the Croatian news, and if you want to go to it, in fact, you can go to it yourself. There's a Croatian news channel on the internet that talks about the red skies. Why are there red skies happening? The stories are from around the world. After I released that red cloud video yesterday, I at least have 30 photographs from around the world just yesterday of red clouds, intense pink and purple skies, and then also pictures of lenticular clouds that are they don't look like normal atmospheric clouds. So, kind of an interesting thing. Let's see what other kinds of questions that we have tonight. Gil Broussard he's got the again, we talk about Gil a lot, and I have a lot of respect for Gil, and I support Gil's research. I learned a ton from Gil Broussard. I had not considered the possibility of space objects and things like that being part of Old Testament and New Testament miracles, and I thought that those were plausible explanations. I'm not sure if we can put God in a box. I'm not sure we can put celestial objects in a box so easily with just limited information. I don't know how fast these things are coming in. I don't know, a lot of data is missing, so to make predictions about dates and things like that, I think is really iffy. And I think we saw that in 2012 when the system started to approach, or when it was in its inbound or going out and then back around on its perihelion and back towards us. Maybe people got excited before, or were disinformed or whatever, and because they were trying to call dates. And that's not the purpose of my videos, is to get you scared about a date. My purpose of the videos that I make is so that you can look at this evidence and make a decision for yourself. I'm deeply spiritual. I'm deeply committed to my faith, and I know a lot of you are too, and that's great. Okay, I'm just saying there's a way out spiritually where you can get help from God. You really can, and it's through the gospel of Jesus Christ. And if you have another path to that, I'm not going to judge you, man. I want you to come here and look at the evidence with us. I want it to sink into you too. I'm going to try to stick to the stories and things like that, but I'll talk about Hopi prophecy. I'll talk about Sumerian texts. I'll talk about the uncanonized books of the Bible and think about those kinds of things too. So I'm open-minded, okay? The Buddhists believe that this regular cleansing, which if it's 3,600 years or whatever the number is, this regular cleansing is just part of rooting evil out of the earth. That's their mythology. The Hindus have a whole three-god structure, major three-god structure, where Shiva, the one that we see on CERN, which flips me out whenever I look at it. Trust me, it's weird, okay? all the way. Strange, but Shiva represents the destruction that makes the path for rebuilding and peace and prosperity and growth in life. So this is not just Christianity that's talked about this, guys. So, get off my case, man. And then I've got other folks, like Nancy Leader and Marshall Masters, who are great people. I learned a ton from Nancy Leader. Look, I can't judge where they're getting their information from. I don't know where they're getting it from, okay? I know where I get my information from. I know why I'm compelled to do this. I know why I have this, group and network coming towards us to help learn more about this event, right? So let's think about some other questions. So Brian Smith, I think you ask one of the greatest questions that we need to consider about what's around the corner. Okay? There are those who believe, I don't know if I believe all of this, okay? There are people that believe that the Anunnaki are inhabitants of this solar system that's coming towards Earth, that this star or stars has a habitable planet that's occupied by the race of people called the Anunnaki. And if you want to learn more about Anunnaki, just go Google it. You'll find a lot about it, okay? And there's a lot of folks that believe that they're coming back to the Earth, and that their role in the development of the human race was that they needed gold or gold processes that were onerous for their race to develop, so they found it easier to genetically manipulate early primates to create Homo sapiens, so that we could mine the gold. It sounds a lot like, what was the book in the movie with John Travolta? Somebody help me here. You remember the book, man, from the Scientologist guy. Anyway, somebody will get the name of the book for me, and then we'll have it up on it. I'll tell you what it was. But the point is that that's what they believe. They believe that that the human race was basically developed by them. And others say that other races are trying to, participate and blah blah blah. The Christians would say, especially the vocal fundamentalist Christians, who I'm always skeptical of, by the way. I've always been skeptical of fundamentalism in any form. I don't care if you're a fundamentalist Christian, if you're a fundamentalist Hindu, if you're a fundamentalist Muslim. Fundamentalism is putting God in a box, okay? And you can't do that. It's not possible. And in fact, there's plenty of evidence I've seen in scriptures of all the world religions that anytime that they encountered God and tried to put him in a box, it does not end well. Okay? So don't put him in a box. That's what fundamentalism does. Keep an open mind. You don't know everything, okay? You just don't. All right, so Christians, and especially the more fundamentalist Christians, would believe that these are demonic entities. Specifically 200 entities, 200 watchers that were angelic beings, divine hosts, sons of God, that were assigned to look, to watch the earth, something like that. And that they had disobeyed God and came to the earth and procreated with women, human Homo sapien women, against the wishes of God, and created a race called the Nephilim. And you can read all about that if you go on the internet and look up the Book of Enoch, and you look up the Book of Giants. And then I think Tom Horn does some good stuff on it. I kind of track more with the idea that what we're dealing with are rebellious beings, and that what they're messing with is a being that's made in the image of God. That would be you and me. And as such, it would be a horrible thing to genetically change us, in my opinion, okay? To take us off the path that God put us on. Because there's a reason why he does it. And so I believe that there's a lot to be said for what Tom Horn and some of the others say about it. So that's what I kind of think about that. And so will we see alien manifestations and things like that? Yeah, I believe we will. I believe that we're going to see some things that we're just going to blow our minds and we're not going to know what to think. But I'm hoping that because we're looking at this together and talking about it, discussing it, that it's not a surprise to us and we can think it through for ourselves so that we're not pushed into things like taking a mark or worshiping somebody we don't, or a religion that we don't believe in, or being forced to take actions against our neighbors and friends and communities. Things that, actions that could be driven from such a catastrophic event. It's important that we have cool heads and we have people that can help other people through it and explain it. So that's why we're doing what we're doing, and that's why we're going to start live events and try to do these more often, quite frankly. So good question. All right, so let's see. WTF Sky, my friend. By the way, I'll be featuring some of your stuff in our live event tomorrow night, and I think that you're doing a great job. So, WF Sky, so what do I think about the RH negative stuff? So, I know some things that I'm not supposed to say about this. So I'm going to try to keep a vanilla version of it, I guess you'd say. But there's something about the RH negative blood that makes it possible for either the aliens, as some believe, or others believe the rebellious beings that are genetically modifying the human genome to create a race of their own children, right? So there's some that say that the RH negative blood is important for this, or is very preferred, or even has a bloodline that goes back to the first alien introduction of their genetic makeup into the human race. That's another story I've heard. So I also personally know folks that are targeted because by this system, by these AI bots and different things that are targeted because they're RH blood type as well. I have O positive blood, so that must repel whatever's happening. Sovereign Spud, you say the plasma trail could be the EMP. Well, yes, I think that we could get EMP-like effects from the discharges between the planetary bodies when they get too close. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to have pretty devastating effects on the power grid. That's why I recommend everybody go out and one of the things you should get, I think, right away, if you can afford it, is to go out to like a hardware, any hardware chain, and find the battery charge packs that you can charge up and charge cell phones on, and you can power different devices from, and you can also start your car with it. Which is another nice thing. Keep those charged. Maybe have a couple of those around, and then if you can afford it, have generators ready to go and some gas, things like that. Because I do think we're going to see some pretty significant power grid interruptions. RT, I am RH negative and I'm not alien. I know, man. I'm just saying this is what people believe and this is what people tell me. I personally believe. Myself, that the only blood type that matters is the one that Jesus Christ has. That's the only blood type that I care about. Yeah. Time frame for Planet X. Alright. So if you listen to Terrell Blackstar, right, he's talking about that we're going to come into this, what we call the orbital, like the outside orbital position that puts us between us and the black star, blah blah blah. Gil would say that if we see certain things at certain times, that will be indicative of the event happening in the following March, and then the progression of events. So I've heard a couple different theories on this. Here's what I think the real answer is. We don't freaking know, man. The only people that know, that have the real information on what's going to happen, aren't sharing it with us for some reason. Why aren't they sharing? Why won't NASA answer my subscribers when they ask questions about some of the imagery that we've been talking about? Why are they being snubbed? Why is the only feedback that we're getting are from government shrills and gnomes that come after us on nitpick our data when we're trying to learn together? You know what I mean? So while we're getting these like spectacular images, look at where we got to get them, man. We got to sneak them from a private all Skycam network, which is just basically a club. We've got to get them from webcams that are meant to promote tourism, and then we have to sneak them off the ISS and be there live in order to capture the image. Because if you're not live, you can't go back and see archives. Well, no, I'm mistaken. On you upstream, you can go back and look at archives. But again, this image came right off. I'm not even sure you would have been seeing that on the live feed. I don't know how my subscriber got it, but it's just incredible footage. It's close, man, and we got to be serious about it. We got to think about what's going on here, man. You know, I'm not an expert on the safe locations of where to be, because, you know, and a lot of it I think is ridiculous too, because how will we really know where safe's not going to be, right? I mean, obviously the coasts seem like a place where you might be seeing a lot of problems, but we've always known the coasts are at risk for various issues like tsunamis that could be caused by things that are not planetary, interplanetary related. So let me be very plain that whenever you live on a coast of a lake, a big lake, or a body of water like an ocean, you're already accepting some inherent risk that, you know, you're going to get smacked around, right? So if you're going to live on the coast, in any coast, in any part of the world, you should always have an emergency escape plan, a bug out plan. You know, like people for hurricanes in southwest United States or southeast United States, like Florida. You should always have the ability to run and go and survive for a week or more without any help from anybody else, and hide and move around like you need to get away from a situation. That's just good common sense. I don't care if planets are coming at us or not. And if you live on a coast or you live anywhere where there's a natural danger for earthquakes or anything like that, it's just a good idea to have a good emergency kit ready to go, and a plan, and you know, so that you can get your loved ones in one place and move together and move away from the danger, if you have time. You know, so coasts are risky no matter what, and they're going to be extremely, particularly risky when I believe, and this is my belief only, my opinion based on the research that I've done, and you know, there's going to be a lot of objects hitting the ocean. That can't be good, you know. Let's see, what other questions do we have tonight here? Best regards from Mexico. You know, one of the things I wanted to talk about the channel, and that I think is really cool about the way this channel is evolving, is I honestly do not want anyone to feel judged when they come here and not accepted. So if you're a Christian brother and sister of mine, what I'm going to ask you to do is, when you're chatting and you're hanging out with me and stuff, man, you know, be compassionate and loving, man. You know, this stuff that we're pointing out right now is scary enough, man. We all know that our death is imminent. It's just the fact everybody's going to have to die. All right? We all die. My best friend just died last summer. I'm sitting in the room where my best friend lived with me up to the time that he died. Death is real. Okay? So we all got to deal with death, okay, one way or another. And I try to tell people the fact that we can see imminent danger and catastrophe around the corner is just can be seen as somewhat of a blessing, because at least you know it's coming. Most people don't know it's coming. Most people, it's a surprise to die. Okay? It surprises them. So here's an opportunity where you can get ready to die. And I know that sounds freaking morbid, but it's a good incentive for you to think about your spiritual health, isn't it? And part of the whole thing that the Bible talks about is that's one of the reasons why we're supposed to be able to see this stuff up in the sky. It's because it's supposed to draw people to God to repent. It's supposed to draw people to God so that they can find their destiny and find their salvation in Him. That's what we believe. And I'm not pushing that on you, man. But if you want to come in and be, know more about it, we're happy to talk about it. But let's be cool when we do, okay? Let's not be fanatical weirdos. I hate that. It's one of the reasons why I don't go to church with y'all, because you're just too weird for me, okay? Don't be weird. I know I'm weird enough as it is already. This is totally a spiritual battle. I totally agree with that. What other kind of questions or comments do we have tonight that we can talk about again about this kind of developing situation? And again, in case you missed earlier, we were talking about how we're corroborating this recent ISS footage with some of the ground footage that we're getting from the All Skycam network, the tools that we have with the triangle and the orbs together that look exactly like the triangle and the orbs together that we see here from the ISS as approaching planetary bodies to the Earth. And tonight, it's important that we take a minute, and that's why I'm online, to think about our spiritual life and be prepared for what's going to happen to you spiritually, and talk about this event, because it's traumatic. Dude, I think I'm on stage 3 of the 7 stages of grief. I'm still not totally accepting all of this yet. It's not real sometimes to me, but it just pours in and pours in and pours in. And the more people that I get to know, and the more people that I have relationships with, the more information they're sending me live, camera shots from their phones, testimonies from all over the world. I can't keep up. I have a job too, man. I have to support my family, just like everybody else here, right? But I'm compelled to talk to y'all tonight. Let's talk about it, man. Let's see what else we got out there. We are all weird, that's for sure. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, it does make sense to be at higher elevations. I'm always checking to make sure I'm over 800 feet above sea level. It's kind of my little obsession with this. The Navy maps primarily. John Moore and the Navy map stuff. You guys ever hear of that stuff? So, yeah. So, David Floyd, hey, thanks for the question and the comment. He heard about charts that Igor from the Separated Society have to help with the location and prediction of where you might have. Yeah, so where do you find those charts or others? Again, all these charts are speculative. If you listen to Nancy Leader, she has a whole, if you go to the Nancy Leader website from the Zetas, it's got a detailed, prediction of how the media is going to deal with it, Or you could go to the John Moore Navy map, the one that he got from some kind of insider sources, and just look up John Moore and you'll find the map. So most of it talks about that we're going to have like a flood in the middle of the United States, and a break of the two sides of the United States in half. Really, man, I don't know. How can we predict these detailed events? How can we predict these things like that? I don't get it, man. Really, are we that smart? Do we all of a sudden just trust me, I believe in prophecy and I believe in all those kinds of things, but it's like, man, be careful what you say, and be careful, I'm trying to show what the facts of what we're finding coming in. I think it's important that people know what this stuff is from a factual perspective. And again, I'm going to focus on spiritual things because it's a spiritual battle going on. There's a whole part of our society that feels like they have to hide this from the masses. And I've studied the chemtrailing phenomenon till it's coming out of my ears. And I'm a pretty smart guy. And I think anybody that's pretty reasonable and smart can see the chemtrails are happening. And then when you start to see the pattern of where those chemtrails are going and why those chemtrails are out there, and then it sinks into you that the sick realization is they're hiding things from us in the sky. They're spending billions of our dollars to hide this from us. Doesn't anybody get mad about that? Every time I look up and see one of those planes spraying, now I just get so pissed off at them, man. You know what I mean? I hate them. It's like, why are you participating in this madness? All right, so any other kind of questions or stuff? All right, so Jonathan Johnson, thank you for your question. The Revelation 12 sign speaks of a woman clothed with the sun and the moon beneath her feet with 12 stars for a crown. Could this be seen in March with the constellation Virgo, the 12 heads? You know, I've heard that theory. Again, I do honestly do think that there's something to that Revelation 12 thing, because if you look at what, and this is one of the things that Gil Brizard taught me about, was how those planetary constellations were supposed to line up that would match with this scriptural reference, and I believed he was more or less correct. But again, we don't know. You know, I don't know how these different bodies are going to interact with each other, how fast they're moving, how long they've been in the solar system. I don't know any of that information. All I know is right now I am looking at, just look right there. Look right there. This, you know, people need to know this, right? And I'm convinced they're trying to keep it from us. And that's why I'm trying to be public, and I'm showing my face. I'm trying my hardest so that I can get as public as possible with the findings, because I don't want to have it. I'm not going to have any fear of them, man. You know what I mean? And I don't think I'm going to be any threat to them at this point. I mean, for crying out loud, man, I got 3,000 subscribers. What is that? Is that somehow going to change the mindset of the world and create some kind of rebellion? Heck no, man. It seems to me that the people that are coming to look at this with me and study this with me and be honest participants in the collaboration process have been people that are honestly spiritual and just honestly have eyes to see what's going on. They've just noticed it themselves with me. You know, we're not, and most of them are educated people that are subscribing to my network, to my channel rather. These are, you know, professors and all kinds of stuff. And right now I've got a call out for astronomers, and we're building a better network now, and hopefully we can get some better information as we move forward, and hopefully it's timely enough to help us and help other people and help y'all out. Okay? Let's see. Sovereign Spud, I think I appreciate your question. Sovereign asks, binary star system? Yeah, I think it's a binary star system too, brother. I can't tell for sure, but I think there's been some evidence over the last 3 months that we're dealing with maybe 2 stars, maybe 2 dwarves or stars or bodies of such mass and so forth that they could be classified as dwarves, but one that especially radiates red, and again the red glow and the, you know, all that stuff we've been talking about in the videos. You know what I mean? Here's some other questions. Yeah, let's talk about acceptance, right? So, and I'm going to tell you this story that I told in maybe in a previous video, so if I'm repeating myself, I don't care, you know what I mean? I'm old, I'm senile, I'm stupid. Sometimes I'm very stupid. So get used to it. If you're going to hang out with me, I'm stupid at times. In this case, though, what I'm thinking about with, as it relates to, you know, kind of the waking up process that happened with me. So I decided to swear off all mainstream media, and the deal was for 6 months. I was going to swear off mainstream media. It was like March last year, and so I got all my news from the internet. You know, I might go to the regular news site, CNN, but then I started picking up on Joe Rogan, and I started picking up on the bloggers and the podcasters, and started getting more of my news from a wider variety of perspectives. And one day, you know how it is when you're looking at Joe Rogan or something, you're going to see an ad for Nibiru. There's no way to get around it, especially if you're looking on it. It's just, for some reason they connect a lot of paranormal stuff to Joe, and while he's open-minded to a lot of that stuff, you wouldn't catch Joe probably hanging out on my channel with me right now. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I clicked on one of those things, and I said, bull crap, man. This is, remember, 2015, March, April 2015. I said, bull crap, man. I said, this is all bull. So I said, I'm going to go outside, and with welding glasses, I'm going to go see if I can see an object. Okay? I go out there, sure enough, I get the most beautiful lens flare you've ever seen in your life. Okay? Send it to Bob Fletcher. I sent a copy to Separated Society. I sent a copy to, you know what I mean? I thought I had discovered Nibiru and how to see it with welding glasses. I go to one of my old Christian friends who's an astronomer, Tom, and I go rolling up to his house an hour away with my, my miraculous footage of capturing Nibiru, and he looked at it and he goes, "That's a lens flare, number one." He goes, "Number two, I watch the sky." And number three, he goes, "It's like, if you want to come over here and look at the sky with me with the IR telescope and stuff, we'll go look for it together." He's very, very nice, but he thought I had completely lost my mind. And I thought I did. I actually lost my mind for a minute because I didn't know what to think. So calm down. I was like, okay, it's not here. Okay, great. Maybe it's far away. I don't know. Just forget about it. But I just kept looking and watching and reading and, following. And it was only in December of 2015 when I started to see the webcam images like the one you see below, preponderance of red cloud data, like this strange lenticular red cloud. I started picking up more and more corroborating stories and evidence, and then I opened up that Davis cam, South Pole cam for the first time, and I saw the little blue dot, with the ring of smoke around it, and also I saw these other images, and it just all just smacked me in the face, and it was like, dude, this is real. You know what I mean? You've been asleep. There is something happening. It's being hidden, and it just flooded into me. And then I started looking at every Nibiru site that I could, and then I started to learn how to look for it myself, and I learned how to time it, and then I started making videos, man, because I felt compelled to do so, because I didn't see a lot of other people putting these dots together, and I felt like somebody should do it. That's my story. It's my testimony. So, RX for Pain. Hey, Steve, can chemtrails be explained by material in the atmosphere that is causing regular chemtrails from planes to linger longer? Maybe. What they're... So, first of all, let's think about what they're spraying, and why they're spraying it, okay? One reason. There could be many other reasons, okay? But this is the ones that I've observed in terms of looking at it. Now, you'll notice that chemtrails will typically have a rainbow color to them, especially when they're deployed or when they reconstitute as smaller clouds. You'll see these big rainbows and everything, which suggests to me that they're using some kind of light prisming technology that would be, to bend or refract light away from us, or to use it as a projection background of some kind. Now, I know that's crazy as heck, man, but this is just stuff I've heard, and what I accept is they use it for its whatever chemicals that they're using for refractive properties to keep this stuff as invisible to us as possible, and then we only get sneaking, glancing looks at it every so often when the clouds part, and that's not enough for anybody to have 100 million people looking up and pointing, like what we're going to see on the day. At one of these days it's going to happen, I think, and it's going to be horrible. So make sure you're ready, man. As ready as you can be. All right. All right, let's talk about prophetic dreams and visions for a minute. Cheers, right? It's coffee, man, all right? I wouldn't drink on the air anyway. Anyway, you gotta be lighthearted sometimes too. So I watch the prophetic websites too, and I do have an appreciation for prophetic gifts. I have an appreciation for clairvoyance and empathy. I have an appreciation for people that have discernment, and I have appreciation for all those things. I really do, man. I love it. I love that stuff. Modern day prophets. There's a lot of them to deal with, man. And I like a lot of the modern day prophets and the people that are trying to get their messages out there, aren't bringing a lot of comfort. Maybe that's not the ministry of a prophet. Maybe they're supposed to kick you in the ass, get you moving, part of what they do. But when I don't see compassion, and when I don't see the fruits of the Spirit, i.e. faith, peace, patience, long-suffering, love, faith, those things, if I don't see those things in a message, I'm highly skeptical. Well, then you might look at me and go, well, Steve, look, you're trying to scare the crap out of people with your videos. I said, well, no, I'm not trying to scare the crap out of anybody. I'm just trying to tell you what's going on. It just happens to be very, very scary. But you'll notice when I talk about approaching the Lord, or approaching Jesus Christ, trust me, man, our arms are wide open, man. You can talk about anything you want to, but I want you to know the invitation from my God is wide open. Okay? So anyway, the prophets. So the prophets, these modern day prophets, if they don't exude the fruits of the Spirit as evidenced by patience, peace, compassion, long suffering, then I don't got time for them. Oh, let's see what else. Virginia Baca, we could get into kind of a theological arguments about if there are new prophets or not. Paul in the New Testament talked about there would be a gift of prophecy in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, things like that. So, what? Is it really that important? There's a planet heading towards us. There's some, what I mean? There's going to be devastation and catastrophe. I really want to make a point. I really think, as much as I appreciate theological discussion and debate, because I come from a theological background in my education, I love that stuff, man. I'll do comparative religion all day long with you if you want to. I just don't have time anymore. We've got a serious event coming over here. And the point I'm trying to make is this. People that are coming into being awakened by this, I don't think need to be brought into a theological argument. I think they need to be brought into a theological explanation of what's going on. So in other words, the arguments of the dogma of the Christian denominations and things like that mean nothing to me. And the reason why I say that in the most highest respect is because one day Jesus actually came to me and asked me a question. He goes, "Which denomination do you think I am?" Conversation over. So now theological differences and debates, I'd rather think about what we agree on. And right now what I think we can agree on is that we're looking at a revelation level event coming towards the earth, of biblical proportions, and that right now what people need to see is the love of Jesus and the open hands of Jesus when fear starts, so that they have a place to go for refuge. That's what's important. All the other theological debates, I'll tell you what, sister, when we get to heaven, I will debate the pre, post, and all the tribulation theology, or New and Old Testament, or the prophets here or not. We'll do it for 10,000 years on the hillside. Right now, it's all about the love of Jesus Christ. It's about the compassion that we need to have for each other and for the Lord. Joe Alden, I want to kind of pull out what Joe Alden is saying right now, because I think that and again, I appreciate the fact that people are willing to be open with me spiritually, because it helps me to talk about it. I'm freaking out. Don't think for a minute that I'm not freaking out. I had and Joe, hold on to this question for a second. I had a freaking dream the other night, man, and I have a lot of premonition dreams, and I could bore you all night with my life story of dreams and visions and all that kind of stuff. I've had a lot of them. Okay? But the one I had the other night was the earthquakes were starting, and there was some hail, like real heavy hail, like coming down in the dream. It was like 4 nights ago. I was terrified. I was begging for it to stop. I was crapping my drawers, man, in my dream. So don't sit there and think that I'm, for a minute, looking forward to seeing any of this. This is not my idea of a good time, guys. Okay? So I want to go back to Joe's question, though. Let's see, Joe, where are you up here? Joe, I don't want to miss it. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Everyone be asked to be filled with the Holy Spirit. He'll guide you every step of the way and lead you to a place of refuge. He's right. There's a promise in my religion, if you want to call it that, that if you allow yourself to be, if you allow the Lord to come in, you open the door, let him come in, he's knocking, comes in, fills you with his Spirit, he promises to lead you. It's true. So it's one way, it's one strategy to deal with it, guys, to take the leadership of the Holy Spirit. Now, again, like I said, that's what I believe. And you're welcome here if you don't believe that. I want you to know that. You're welcome to stay and listen all day long. And don't worry about what we're saying if it bothers you, okay? All right, Angry Dad. This is an interesting, kind of a question or comment that you got going on here. So the no rapture theory. So there's this big debate within Christianity about being, raptured away pre-tribulation, mid-tribulation, whatever. You know what I mean? And they pick it apart and analyze it, and all. You know what I mean? Let's think about that theological fact for just a minute, okay? That there's a lot of people that disagree on when this rapture is supposed to happen, whatever, right? You don't have any control over it. You're not going to control when Jesus is going to come in there and pull his people out. You don't have control over none of it. And if we can't understand it clearly through scriptures, then you know what? It's better to leave it alone, man, because we don't have any control. Leave it alone. We'll find out soon enough, won't we? And like I said, I'm going to sit with you and some of these other folks, and we're going to discuss this theology for about 10,000 years after this happens. But right now, we got a planet sitting on our sky cams. We've got, we got stuff to talk about right now that's a little more important. Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of different comments about politics, and that's probably to be expected, right? With the political situation right now, we got all the elections going on. I get it. Let's see. Any other questions? Okay, here we go. Vaders. Do you think this event will occur before Obama leaves office, leaving him in the White House? It's possible. It's possible. Anything is possible. So, if there was a worldwide catastrophic event that had to be managed, and coordinated on a worldwide basis for its response, and there's multiple militaries and multiple, do you know what I'm saying? There's not going to be an election if it happens before the election. It'd be very hard to pull off a fair election until things were back in line and back online and fixed and all that kind of stuff. Which is the theory, as the theory goes, is this cataclysm is not the end of the world. This cataclysm is the beginning of the end of the world. In other words, what's going to happen, what rises out of that, the phoenix that rises out of the dust of the old world, will be that, what they say is the New World Order, or in the Bible they call it the Beast of Revelation, things like that. You know what I mean? Scary stuff, right? So pay attention. You don't want to get caught off guard with this one. Rick Sandoval, yeah, good comment. I think the ring around the orbs, could be asteroids or little moons floating around the planet. Definitely there are going to be a lot of different, objects, and it's probably not going to be the same pattern of objects that past times have seen, just because it's picking stuff up as it goes in and out of the Kuiper Belt, and places like that, things like that. So, it's going to be really hard to predict how much stuff it's got coming with it. But I did repost this, the interview with that NASA guy on my site. Go check it out. He talks about how many of the things were in there. Here we go, Carpenter 0909. Yeah, these are the scriptures. The earth is broken asunder. The earth is split through. It's shaken violently. It reels to and fro like a drunkard, and it totters like a shack. And again, and it tracks with a lot of what a lot of cultures believe, which is this is the cleansing moment where evil is rooted out, including my religion. So Arcs for Pain thinks that they're planning a coming out day when there will be an announcement, when it will be so obvious that they have to do something. Agree. They will have to say something at some point. But what they say, how they manage the message, how they explain it. Let me give you an example. When we get to the outside orbital position where we're going to be most exposed, I believe also to the wrath of this thing, which puts it in the March time frame as a good exposure time for at least the gravitational and electrical effects. Maybe not the asteroids and things like that yet, but certainly those effects. They're going to say that Mars blasted its atmosphere at us, and that's why we got orange dust in the air. I already think that's what's going to be the first thing that we're going to hear when we see red dust on our, all over the place, and we're having to clean up. All of a sudden our rivers are turning red, like blood, and things like that start to happen. They're going to say things like Mars, just blew some dust off, and that's why we got. So they're going to come up with a story, man. There's going to be a story for everything, and we just have to be very discerning so that we don't get caught in a situation where we're believing a lie, and we do what they said. We do things that we should not do. So. Yeah, let's talk about Jade Helm for just a minute, and let's talk about. This is what I mean about crazy stuff, guys, okay? Obama is not the Antichrist, man. Come on, really? He's just a dude that got to be the president, okay? When he walked into office, he found out about this, and his life was changed, just like mine was when I found out about it. Can you imagine what it's like to get that presidential briefing when you hand off power from one president to the next, and the first thing that they say to you is, all right, Mr. President, we have to tell you something we've been keeping secret for a long time, so we need to make sure you're going to keep it secret too. You ever see the pictures of when George W. left the White House and Obama was, seeing him off, and it was the last handshake, and then President Bush went off. Remember that? And that look of horror on Obama's face. No, man, he's not the Antichrist. He's just a tool, man, just like the rest of them. Okay? So let's get back to Jade Helm. So I do believe Jade Helm is a benevolent exercise. I don't think they're intending on mass murder or any of that kind of stuff. I think they truly are trying to prepare for a disaster. I believe the FEMA camps are being set up to house refugees. I believe that they're trying to set as much infrastructure in place to help as many people as they can. I really do believe that that's their intent. Okay? So when we talk about will there be a presidential election and the conspiratorial theories around that, just by the natural course of events, we're not likely to have a presidential election if this stuff starts going down, or it'll be delayed if it starts going down before the election in November. So I just want to assure you that I don't think that the government is totally against us. I think there's good guys and bad guys. Okay, I just happen to think that there was a lot of deception going on for a long time, and people are starting to wake up to it, including me. So, yeah, I know. One of the things that gets brought up a lot in my household, because we're big Second Amendment people here, you might guess. I'm ex-military, ex-U.S. Air Force. I'm a big believer in the military. I served my country proudly. I have 2 honorable discharges, not 1. And I don't say that because of pride. I say that because I want you to know that I know there are good people in the military, and I know there are good people, in the government, and we need to pray for those people, that they can do the most good with the resources that are going to be given to them. But we also have to realize that there's a Luciferian sect in our government, and in our high society, and in our banking systems. And if you're not paying attention to all that stuff, just go watch. All you need to do is go watch the first episode of X-Files, and you'll know mostly what I believe. Okay? Cheers on that one. All right, well, let's keep this thing going here a little bit. Any other comments or observations or testimonies that people want to kind of go with before we head off the air for the special report talking about the intense sightings that we're seeing lately? It's a good time to start thinking about how you're going to prepare yourself spiritually. We may not have it tomorrow with the internet anyway, right? So I don't believe the earth is going to be destroyed. I think there's going to be lots of survivors. I think that you have a good chance to survive if you're paying attention to this event. I believe that there's a reason for it, because most people don't want to hear it. Okay? Stop pushing it on them, man. They'll realize soon enough when things start going down, and they'll know who to go to ask about it. Just be ready with your answers and be ready with your, guidance. That's the best thing to do. All right, 3 Days of Darkness Prophecy by Kathleen Pimentel. It's good to see you, Kathleen. You've been an early supporter of the channel, and I really appreciate you. And I'm sorry I invited you to one of my early teleconferences. I was still trying to get used. Man, this is all new to me. This is the first time I've ever operated any of this type of equipment. But anyway, we were talking about the 3 Days of Darkness Prophecy. There's two ways that can happen, by the way. It's not just, it does not have to be a planetary eclipse in order for there to be 3 days of darkness. So I don't need to have a lot of celestial calculations to figure out, darkness is going to happen when we get enveloped by the iron oxide cloud. I think we're going to have a very dark situation. If you go back to look at my photographs as an example from the previous video, you'll see that I compared the Hawaii sky cams from a year ago. One of the most striking things about the comparison was not only the red iron oxide cloud dust that we saw, but it was also the amount of light that was blocked in comparing the two photographs. So the 3 days of darkness are going to be a prophecy that I believe is fulfilled, and it can be fulfilled in two ways: through either a planetary eclipse or through the the darkness of the skies happening because of the iron oxide cloud that envelops this system. That's your answer there. That's what I think. They want us warning everyone, so they don't want to take the heat. Let me be really clear about, again, remember, this is the guy that didn't know about 2012. I wasn't paying attention to your community. I didn't know anything about this stuff. All right, I came into it since, like I said, March 2015. Fast forward to today, okay? And I just think that there are too many people saying too many predictions and making too many too many certainties about what they're saying. You know what I mean? There's just too many people feel certain about everything. I'm not certain about anything except for this is close. I know that there's going to be scientifically, from a astrophysics perspective, that if bodies get close to each other in space with the electrical charge and the magnetic fields that these planetary bodies have, that there's likely to be discharges. There's likely to be debris because of testimonies that we've seen from, like the guy that I put up on my post today. To you can go out and see hundreds of folks. So, we got to be careful. We got to be careful. Anyway, oh yeah, the Alex Jones show, Jenna T. So Alex pisses everybody off, man. Right? That's the thing I kind of like about him, actually. But here's the thing about Alex. He takes that libertarian thing a long way, and again, I'm one of the people that do not believe that it's all malevolent. I think that there's a lot of common sense that can come into play when you're dealing with this at a government level. I mean, really, are you going to create the stampedes to the freaking exits? Is that really what you want to do? Well, some people might say, well, Steve, you're doing that. You're saying like fire in the movie theater when you're doing what you're doing. I said, no, don't even compare that. Okay, I'm not, number one. If there was a fire in the movie theater, then you would want somebody to warn you to get out of the movie theater. That's what I'm doing. I'm not yelling fire. I see a fire. It's time to get out of the building. Okay, David Floyd. I'm glad you're bringing up some spiritual things that are not necessarily directly down the center of the canon of the Christian faith, because I think it's fun to talk about. You talk about the final appearance of Mary at Fatima as she showed a miracle in the sky, which the whole crowd gathered could see, and it was a sun-like object that danced in the sky and then came towards the earth. Related? I think so. Yeah, I think it is. The third prophecy of Fatima. Being raised as a Catholic, I was being trained to be a priest when I was really young, and so we watched. There was this one priest that I hung out with. By the way, no Catholic priest ever tried to do anything with me. They were all cool dudes. They took, we were, altar boys. We did great. It was a great relationship. So not all the Catholic Church is bad. But anyway, when it came to the Fatima and then also Medjugorje and some other stuff, we had films and footage, and we talked a lot about this stuff when I was like 10, 12 years old with a priest. And so I got a really heavy-duty education on Fatima when I was really little. I never knew why. Now I do. Right? So, the third prophecy of Fatima is this, by the way, in case you're wondering. Oh, hey, Broadford Sevilla. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing your handle right. Can you see the phenomena in the Philippines? Yeah, and I would expect to see it more and more towards the equator. Because we had been, as it was coming closer, we were seeing the manifestations around the southern hemisphere at the up till the 21st of December, when we went past the winter timeline, and now we're going back towards longer days. As this thing starts to come up north, further up in our hemisphere, in our orbits, just due to the orbit of the Earth around the Sun and the tilt of the Earth, it's inevitable that whatever we're seeing in the South Pole, we're going to see up in the sky, unless they block it, right? So I'd expect people in the Philippines to see it, start seeing it right around now. People in Indonesia as well. Greg, interesting. Because I'm a conspiracy guy, like I said, watch the X-Files episode 1, and you know everything I believe. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about how I was interesting that they actually that character that played the TV host or the internet host was hosted on Alex Jones's character, and so he was bragging about it the other day. But yeah, we're talking about that they're indirect shells and things like that, misinformation. So I want to also offer the possibility that there are people that are doing the best that they can with the information that they have, and especially when you got a hot head, and you could be made angry easily, or you can be made to be excited easily, and say things pretty much the way I live. You got to be careful, that you're going to sound like a shill sometimes, or maybe somebody's going to call you and scare you, or maybe you're getting death threats or things like that. Man, so it's hard to say what Alex Jones goes through on a day-to-day basis. So it's just like everybody else. I'll listen to what they have to say. I'll judge it for myself. If I think, I'm a smart guy, man. I mean, I don't need like an editor to sit around and dance around on my shoulder and tell me what's good and what's bad. But I also think that you got to keep an open mind to opposing points of view, or people that may seem crazier to you and things like that, because there's oftentimes a nugget of truth in people that you would never appreciate it. And every human being's got a kernel of truth and a kernel of brilliance in them, and it only takes a little bit of common sense to see that, and then it only takes a little bit of love to go find it. So if anyone is watching and want to get caught up, look on Steve's channel. He has a link to a vid. Oh yeah. I've got videos to check out and stuff like that, and so forth. I'd like you to go check out some of my other videos. I know that the time is getting long. We got a lot of folks, so I'm going to do 2 more questions or comments, and then we'll cut it off tonight, because I think we've got the word out now that we've got these objects pretty visible. They look pretty close, and we had a good time of basically just venting and talking, and if nothing else, it's therapy for all of us, right? Hopefully it is anyway. So let's see what else we got going on. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, 3 days of darkness we talked about. Yeah. So right after we start seeing, like, I think right when we start to see the increasing effects of the system, and it's not going. I don't think it's going to be like an overnight like kabang. I think it's going to be a gradual, slow kind of thing, and then all of a sudden it's just going to accelerate, and it's just going to get out of control, and everybody's going to be like, where did this come from? How did this happen? Why didn't I know about this? And then all of these crazy people like me and you are going to be like, when that moment comes, and all the people that were telling you that you were crazy come to you, please don't say I told you so. Okay? Help them understand it. Say, look, I'll help you understand any of this that you need to understand. Okay? Try to be loving and merciful, because it's a gift to know what's going on, guys. It really is. It's a gift to want to know truth. It's a gift to want to seek the truth out. I don't find that it is a common gift in people across. 1 out of every 10, 1 out of every 100 people are going to want to seek the truth in the earth. It's not like every person. So, be patient and kind. Some people just don't want to know, right? I get it. Okay, if they don't want to know, that's fine too. They'll never take me alive, Gail. They're not going to take me alive either. I'm sorry to tell you, man. I'm going down with my boots on, baby. Right? All right, I think it's about time to call it a night here. Let's do one more. One more real quick one. Oh, let's go. I thought a really good question that just went by there. Oh, look, got a lot of folks up. We got 95 people here. I was wondering, the red spot on the Mexico chems are a volcano or a planet. All right, so there's Papapatui or whatever the name of that webcam is down there. I did an extended study on it a couple days ago. There are definitely some great apparition of the, but you got to look really close, and it's not something I put on a video because it's not obvious on its face. But you can actually see as the suns or the planets set against the side of the mountain, and the smoke's coming out of the top of the mountain, it gives you a lot of different things to contrast the light off of to see what's going on. And you can use the edge of the mountain to see how many objects are passing past the line of sight. So over a period of time, you can actually see there's 1, 2, 3 objects that go down over a sunset on that volcano. Another thing that rises is this big green, like planetary looking orb. That is a refraction or a reflection, sun flare, that basically is the light coming through all of that stuff, including the volcanic material, I believe, partially, but it expresses as a green color. And it actually, if you look at it earlier in the day, it starts inside the mountain, so it's a flare or a refraction, and then it slowly goes up, and then it looks like it's in the sky. But there's no planet in the sky there that I can discern. But there are 3 objects that do set behind that mountain. Go check it out, man. Look at that line, and you'll see them. Whoop, whoop, whoop. They go right down. All right, it's about time to call it a night, everybody. I really appreciate everybody coming on. Make sure you check us out tomorrow night when I have Jeff P. on as a special guest. If you haven't seen his YouTube channel, check it out prior to, and then have your questions ready for us. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow night, and that will start at 7 o'clock Pacific time. And check it out on my channel, and I look forward to seeing you all there. And God bless you, and I pray for you all, and please take care of yourselves, okay?